This
PowerBI.
conference will now be recorded.
We covered the two sessions so far, and as part of that sessions, we understand like what are the different windows that we have in a Power Query and the basic transformations like merge, append, replace value, remove columns, filter columns, move columns, rename columns. All these properties we observed. So we are going to see further more transformations as part of this session. Those are like let's start with parameter today. Notepad parameter and a split. So like from here, except split, this still here we covered everything. And advanced editor. Then after refresh. Then after date and time transformations. So these are the things that we are going to observe today. So before we start a topic, so yesterday, like one of the consultant is had an interview yesterday. One consultant had yesterday, like they have an interview yesterday, and as part of that, they asked about what is the difference between duplicate and reference, which we already had a discussion. So when you are learning this course, you can trust me 100%, and you can practice or learn whatever I said. That is more than sufficient to crack any job to work individually. Okay, so don't worry about this video is getting recorded only 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. The topic is covering in 1 minute of time or 10 seconds of time. You don't need to worry at all. What you need to worry is whatever I explained or whatever I mentioned, you are able to understand or not. If you are unable to understand, yes, you can always ask me. So keep this point very clearly in your mind so that you will be happy after the course. Okay, so yeah, like the remaining transformations are like when you right click on here, you already observed that duplicate column, reference column, move to a group, move up, move down, we observed. Similarly, we observed renaming a table also, and whenever you have multiple tables are there, you can delete that unwanted tables also with the help of a delete. And here you have two other options are there: enable load, include in report refresh. Include in report refresh is nothing but if I perform a close and apply here, so I'm going to get a two tables here, and whenever I perform a refresh, observe that how many tables are getting refreshed. Two tables are getting refreshed. So whenever you perform a refresh, all the tables that you loaded in your model will get refreshed. But if you don't want to refresh a specific table, let's assume this second table is taking a 1 hour of a time, and the first one is going to take a 5 minutes of a time. I want to refresh only that first one. I don't want to refresh this one. But whenever I perform a refresh, I need to wait for other table to complete a refresh. So if you want to exclude any table from the refresh means, you can go to transform data, and you can right click on this table. You will disable include in refresh. Now whenever you perform a close and apply, and whenever you click on a refresh, observe that how many tables are getting refreshed. Only one table. So By default, whatever the number of tables that you loaded, whenever you refresh, all the tables are going to get refreshed. But whenever you add any table to exclude from the refresh, or when you uncheck include in refresh, that will not get refreshed whenever you perform a refresh. That is the functionality of include in refresh. By default, that will be part of it included. Now the next one is enable load. So enable load means by default the data will be loaded into the table. Let's assume we don't want to load the data into table. Data will not be loaded. Data will not be loaded. And when you are not loaded the data, include in report refresh also got disabled. If you are not loading the data itself, if you don't want the data, then what is the need of a refresh? So, like whenever you uncheck this one, this also will get unchecked. That is what the difference between enable load and include in report refresh. So we are done with the delete, rename, enable load, include and refresh, duplicate, reference, move. Thereafter, you have an option called advanced editor. Advanced editor is nothing but whatever the transformations that you performed here, it will be created. It will be created as a steps. That steps will be available in the form of a code. So this is all about the code. Whatever the transformation that you performed, whatever the table that you loaded in the backend, it will be represented in this code. This is available, or this code we used to call it as a M language. It is M language. So though you are performing a transformation with the help of a left and right clicks, a backend code will be generated. This code will be executed against that engine and it is going to perform a transformations. You can understand this code. It is saying that the source is going to be this Excel file and we are loading a table called financials. We performed some transformation of a data types and similarly we removed a few columns, we filtered the rows, everything will be recorded and you can observe that one in a M language. So advanced editor is the place where you can see the code associated with the table. Or if you want to modify this code, you are going to use this one. So that is all about advanced editor. Advanced editor, you are going to have the code associated with your table. The table may have a transformation. If it is having, then we have a transformation steps also. That is all about advanced editor. Thereafter, properties. The properties is nothing but if you want to rename your table name, you can rename it. If you want to enable a load to report, you can enable or disable. Or if you want to include in report refresh, you can include whatever we already observed. If you don't want, you can disable it. Okay, the table name got changed. Include in report refresh got disabled. Whatever we already observed, that is their aspect of properties. Copy and paste, you might already know. Okay, so now what is pending here is create a function. The only property that we have here which we not covered is create function. A create function is nothing but in the last two sessions we covered around 10 to 15 transformations. In today's session we are going to cover another 10 transformations and overall this module we are going to cover 60 to 70 or whatever all the transformation that we have we are going to cover. After covering of all those things you have a requirement which cannot be done with the available transformations which are available. You need some other logic to perform for achieving your requirement. At that time, you can write your own code. with the help of create a function. So if you go to Oracle or SQL Server or any database also, you have a concept called built-in functions, which is nothing but by default they are going to take some inputs and they are going to return some value. Similarly, there is a concept called user-defined functions, where you can write your own logic and you can execute that one. Similarly, in Power Query, there are around 70 to 100 transformations are there. If you still need more business logic to be implemented, if the existing transformation is not going to work, in that scenario, you can write your own code with the help of create function. We are not going to cover this one. Why? Because in the real time, we are not going to focus much on mQuery. In the real time, as I mentioned, we are not going to use a Power Query much. We are going to use SQL. Okay, so no need to worry about if you are unable to understand advanced editor, if you are unable to write create a function also, but create function is for that purpose. So these are the transformations that we have at a table level. Till here, anyone has any questions? If you have a question, unmute and proceed. If you don't have a question, mention no in chat. Okay, so now what we observed is the transformation that are available at a table level. The next one is the transformations which are available at a drop down level. We already observed sorting, ascending, descending, clear sort we observed. Similarly, if you want to remove empty values from that given column, you can use this one. Similarly, so this drop down is mainly used for two types of functionalities. One is sorting, the second one is a filtering. Sorting, we observed, we performed sort ascending and descending, and we if you select any one of the sorting, you have an option called clear sort also, and by using that you can clear the sorting. Similarly, whatever the values that you want, you can select from here. And if you have a generic requirement, let's assume I want a Canada, I want a Germany, select it. But I have a requirement that whatever the country which contains a name contains a. So Canada we are having a name a, France we have, Germany we have, United States we have, Mexico we don't have. I want to get all the countries which contains name as a. So then you can select the text filters. You can mention contains a. Now observe one thing got removed. So when you are working on a filter, you have two types of option will be there. One is you already know what you want, what you don't want, or you may have a pattern which can be a condition. If it is a textual column, the conditions are like this: equal, not equal, begin, not begin, end, not end, contains, not contains. If it is a number column, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, not equal to. If it is a date, on or after, on or before, before, after, between. So based on the column, you will have a different conditions. By using this one or by using this one, you can apply your required condition. Remove empty is nothing but if you have any blank values are there, that will be removed with the help of remove empty. Whatever the filter that you applied, whatever the filter that you applied, if you want to clear, we have a clear filter option is there. These are the options that we have at a drop down. So we covered the options which are available at a table. We covered the options which are available here. Till here, anyone has any questions? So drop down is used for sorting or filtering. Any questions still here? Now, the next one is You have the options available at a table, which means that you have some options available here we are going to cover, and you have some options available here. Whatever the options which are available at a column level, right click, those are specific to that column. So all the transformations can be performed only on that column. But whatever you perform here, this is going to impact on the row. All the columns of a specific row it is going to get impacted. Now, here we already observed append queries, we already observed merge queries, we already observed remove, we already observed keep, we already observed choose columns. Here below all are completed. Now you have a concept called index column. Index column, like let's assume that I want to create an index for my data, which is nothing but I want to give a serial number. At that time, you have a add column option is there. You have an option called index column. You have a three options are there. One is starting from 0. You can observe that you got a column which contains 0 to 9. And you can have index column starting from 1. 1 to 10 you have. Similarly, you have an index column which is going to start from like 100 with an increment of 1. So you can have a 100 to 109 based on your requirement. You can have indexes defined on the table that can be starting from 0, that can be starting from 1, that can be starting from 100 or anything, whatever the range that you want. I want to start from a 10,000, I want to increment with minus 1, which is nothing but in a reverse order. I'm going to have indexes. So whenever you want a row number, you can use add index column. That is what add index column. Then after, copy table. If you want to copy the data of a table, you can copy it. Then after, you can paste it. Then after, then after, you can paste it as part of any other Word document. Sorry, Excel, Notepad, by using a copy. So you can observe that index 1, index 2, index 3, everything came. So copy table is nothing but you can copy the data of a table. Here you have a copy column where you can copy the data of a column. So copy table is done. Use first row as a header is done. Add index is done. So only we have four options. Add custom column, column from examples, invoke custom function, conditional column. These are the four things which are not covered. That is going to be covered hopefully today or tomorrow. So these are the options which are available at a row level. The next one is the options which are available at a column level. Copy I already mentioned. Remove other columns are done. If you want to duplicate a column, you can duplicate it, so that, and here you can perform other transformations from here. If you want to duplicate a column, you can use a duplicate column option. And then after, you have an option called add column from examples that is available here also. We are going to cover that one later. Then after, duplicate, remove duplicates. So remove duplicates is nothing but in this given column, if you have any duplicates, that will be removed. So right click, remove duplicates. You can observe that all the duplicates got removed. But if you perform the same remove duplicates option from here, nothing got removed. Why? Because if you select here, it is going to look for the entire row, all the columns, if any duplicate is there. But whenever you select this one, it is going to select only a specific column, like only a ఇక్కడ పెట్టుకోవచ్చు. ఏడ ఉంది, ఆడుంది, ఆడుంది, ఆడ నెట్కి ఇంపాక్ట్ అయితే అటు పక్కన ఉంది చూడు, బాత్రూమ్ నెట్ ఉంది కదా దాని పక్కన. సో Here, whenever we perform remove duplicate, only that specific column will be searched for duplicates, and remaining all duplicates got removed. The next one is remove error. If you have any errors are there, that will be removed. We don't have any error. Similarly, change type we discussed. Replace value we discussed. Replace error, if you have any errors are there, you can replace with -1 0 na. You can make it. We don't have any errors, so it was not replaced. Group by we discussed. Rename we discussed. Move we discussed. And the remaining properties we are going to cover now. As part of remaining properties, the first option that we have is transform. Transform. You are going to convert your value into lowercase. All the characters are converted into lowercase. Similarly, you can transform all the values in uppercase, lowercase or uppercase, and capitalize each word, which is nothing but whenever you have a like this one channel partners. Each word, the first letter will be capital. Here we have only a single word, so that will be fine. And or in order to observe that one, what I will do is first I will convert this one to lowercase. Then after I am going to convert that one into capitalize each word. The first character will be the first character will be you are going to get as a capital letter. Kuch apprentice. So that is all about capitalize each word. Then after we have other transformation as a trim. So whenever you click on a trim, if you have any spaces, that will be if, okay. So if you have any spaces, that will be trimmed, that will be removed. That is all about a trim. And the next one is sorry. The next one is like a clean. If you have any unprintable characters are there, that will be cleaned here. So here as part of we have correct characters only, so no changes will occur. The next one is length. It is going to convert that character into number of characters. Okay. So it is going to convert the text into number of characters. The next one is it is going to convert the data into JSON or XML format. So here as we have a single value, it was not converted. We'll observe this one as part of a different example. And okay, that is all about transform. Then after split, so whenever you have a split is nothing but dividing a one column into multiple columns. Like in this, I want to split a segment based on a different options. Let's assume I want to split based on a delimiter called A. So whenever I mention my delimiter as a, I have a multiple options: leftmost delimiter, rightmost delimiter, each delimiter. Let's understand the left. So wherever you have A came, so let me duplicate the column here and move this column to beginning. So if you observe here, whenever I perform a split based on the character called A, in the government we don't have A. So it was not divided into two columns. The first column contains all the value, second column contains a null. Whereas mid market, wherever A came, before A, everything in one column, after A, everything in one column. Similarly, channel partners, A is available at two areas, but we selected an option called leftmost delimiter, which means that whenever the first time A occurs before all one column, remaining all another column. So that is why the channel partners CH came first, after A remaining all as came as second column. Like that, if you want to divide a one column into multiple columns, we can use a split. When you are working with a split, you have a different options are there. One is a delimiter. The second one is by number of characters. Let's assume I wanted three characters. So first to three characters as one column, remaining all as another column. Similarly, when we are discussing this one, you have different options like one as far left as possible, which means whenever you select the first two options, like first one column based on the three characters will come, remaining all we are going to get a two columns. Our first two options, whenever you select, you will get a output as only two columns. One is left and remaining all is right. So now, as I select left, I got a first three. If I select a last right, last three as a one column. So now, whenever I mention split by column by number of characters, a three, this one, you can observe that last three characters one column before all one another column you have. So similarly, I don't want only first three last three. I want to divide each and every three characters as a separate columns. At that time, you can use a split by number of columns. Repeatedly you can mention for each and every area, for every three characters one separate column we are going to get. This is applicable for whatever we discussed previously related to by delimiter also. So if I mention the custom as a and if I mention each and every delimiter, you can observe that. So mid-market and government and mid-market and government came only one time here, but for channel partners we have a like two areas. So wherever first A occur, left side one column. From first year to second year, one column. Wherever last year occur, remaining all one column it came. So like this, based on your interest, you want only two columns. You want everywhere wherever it occurs, you want it to split. You can select. Like that, you have a multiple options are there. So not only based on the delimiter, you have based on the characters, based on the positions. You can mention that first two one column, next to four one column, next to five one column, like that you can mention. Lower to uppercase, upper to lowercase, like wherever uppercase came, from there one column before all one column, or wherever lowercase came, from there one column before all one column. Digit to non-digit, non-digit to digit, wherever number is there, rest all one column before all one column. So based on that you can configure your requirement. So you can observe your pan card number, your passport number is going to contain like alphabetics along with a number. Similarly, that vehicle numbers like car, bike, or these numbers also, which contains a number and alphabetics. In that scenario, the last two transformation we are going to use it. So this is all about how you are going to divide a column into multiple columns. And there are some scenarios where we may need to combine multiple columns into single column, the reverse operation. If you want to do that reverse operation, what you can do is you can select both of the columns together. You can select and you can click on merge columns. So whenever you are doing a merge, you can provide a separator, anything you can provide. So you can observe that like the new column which is a merged. It contains a segment and like a country. It is having both. So here you have a merge columns is one transformation. Merge is a different transformation. People may ask what is a merge columns. Merge columns is nothing but combining a two or more columns into a single column. Like I'm selecting a three columns or four columns together. I'm clicking on a merge columns, and whenever I mention custom and hyphen or underscore, whenever I click on it, everything together it came as a single column. And by using a split operation, again I can divide this one into four different columns also. Now I select this one and I can say split column by delimiter. I can specify each and every occurrence. In that scenario, four separate columns came. So you can divide a column into multiple columns. You can combine multiple columns into single column also. That is all about a split and a merge columns. Then after, ఒక నిమిషం. రాలా? Hello. Swami.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So that is all about split and merge columns. So here till split we are done, and then after, like we have an option called add as a new query. First of all, a query is nothing but a table. Add as a new query is nothing but whenever if you want to create a separate table from the given column, you can click on add as new query. In this scenario, you can observe that all the country names came as a separate table. Similarly, whenever you click on a product, if you click on add as a new query, the product is came as a separate table. So add as a new query is nothing but it is going to create a separate table for that specific column. That is all about add as a new query. And the next one is like fill up fill down, which is nothing but whenever you have a data like this, like country, state, so C1, C2, C3, S1, S2, current S2, and S3, S4, S5. So value. So I'm keeping everything as a single value. So we already covered visualizations, and you observed this is a matrix visualization. Okay. So in reality, you will have a data like this. Merge, 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 merge. So in a matrix visualization, you are going to observe a data like this. And if someone given a data like this to load the data in Power BI, so I'm just saving this one as a book 2 in my documents. In Power BI, I am loading this one documents, documents, book 2, open, and I'm selecting that sheet and I'm clicking on OK. So in the Excel, you can easily observe that which state is related to which country. But when you load in Power BI, you can observe that if I want a country 1, I'm getting only one state. So your data is getting loaded like this. Now what I need to do, S2 equal to C1, S3 equal to C1, S2 equal to C2. I need to update this one manually or I need to fix this one. To fix this one, we have an option called fill down. Fill down is nothing but the below null values will be filled with the above value. So whenever I select fill down, all the below null values got filled with this value. All these null values got filled with this value. This got filled with this value. That is what fill down. So that automatically now as C1 we are having a multiple states we got. That is the purpose of fill down. There is an option called fill up. The above null values will be filled with a specific value. So fill up, like you can observe that the first two got filled with a C2, and then after these two got filled with C3, like that. So whenever we have a null values, and if those null values we want to replace with above or below value, we are going to use a fill up or a fill down. That is the functionality of this fill. So I'm stopping here. Till here, anyone has any questions? If you have a question, you can unmute and proceed. Or if you don't have any question, mention no in chat.
No, still no.
Okay. So I will upload this video by afternoon and Naresh will confirm the group. Thank you so much for joining. We'll connect tomorrow at the same time. Bye.
Thank you.